The wine glass paused halfway to Voss Torren's mouth when he noticed the waitress moving wrong. Not clumsy, too controlled. She navigated Belfonte's Friday dinner rush with precision that suggested training far beyond carrying plates. Voss had chosen the corner booth for strategic advantages: clear sightlines, proximity to exits, enough shadow to obscure his features. The restaurant attracted Crescent Bay's elite: venture capitalists, surgeons, attorneys sealing deals over wine that cost more than most weekly paychecks. The waitress avoided a collision that should have happened, a server backing into her path while she carried entrees. Instead of impact, she pivoted with fighter's footwork, redistributing weight while creating impossible space. The near disaster resolved in under a second, but Voss noticed. Years reading violence in men's postures had attuned him to body language. This woman moved like someone who understood leverage, whose spatial awareness extended into calculated territory. He raised his hand slightly, a subtle gesture summoning attention without vulgarity. She finished at a nearby table, then approached with professional neutrality. "Can I get you anything else while you wait?" Her voice was quiet, competent, and forgettable. Voss studied her with negotiation intensity. She met his gaze directly but without challenge. Perfect calibration of respect, without submission. Most people recognized him and either fawned or avoided eye contact. She showed neither response. "Your name," he said. "Marin." No last name, no elaboration. "You move well? Professionally trained?" Her stillness changed quality. "I'm trained to do my job." "Was there something you needed?" The deflection was expert, not rude, not submissive. Significant presence to push back against someone whose reputation preceded him everywhere. "Tell me what you recommend for someone who appreciates things that surprise them," Voss said. "The seared ahi with wasabi reduction. Looks simple. Isn't." She clicked her pen. "But I suspect you already know what you want, Mr. Torren. Men like you usually do." His name confirmed she knew exactly who he was. The emphasis on "men like you" suggested opinions about that. A crash erupted from the kitchen, glass shattering, raised voices. Marin repositioned instantly, placing herself between escalation and nearest tables. Her weight distribution changed. Balanced. Ready. She raised one hand with unconscious authority. "Marcus, walk it off. Kitchen. Now." The agitated server looked at her and deflated. He disappeared without argument. Voss had watched with laser focus. She'd controlled the situation with presence alone. Marcus backed down from something he'd recognized in her bearing. That wasn't service training. "Sit down," Voss said when she returned. "I'm working." 5 minutes. "Humor me. I'm not that interesting, and I have other tables. They can wait." He leaned forward. 5 minutes. What would she do? The question hung between them: compliance, refusal, or something else entirely that would reveal who Marin actually was. Marin Solis had learned that being forgettable was survival, not invisible. That drew attention through absence, but forgettable, unremarkable, easily overlooked. Now that skill was failing because Voss Torren didn't forget anything. She'd known who he was immediately. Word traveled about people who mattered. Torren fell into his own category. Someone whose presence changed atmospheric pressure, whose reputation preceded him like weather. Criminal, some whispered. Businessman, others insisted. His legitimate holdings generated enough profit to satisfy scrutiny. What happened in the margins was speculation she had no interest in confirming. "I'm really not interesting, Mr. Torren," she said, "and sitting at a customer's table violates several policies. You strike me as someone who follows rules when convenient. Am I wrong? Too accurate. You don't know me well enough to strike you as anything." That's what I'm trying to remedy. Most people would be flattered or intimidated. You're neither. Maybe I'm just trying to do my job. Your meeting is arriving. 2 men, gray suits, just entered. Voss didn't turn. Observant. Do you notice everything with that detail? Everything relevant to smooth service. His associates reached the table, sliding in with careful deference, both younger, athletic in gym routine ways. Gentlemen, Voss said without looking away from Marin, this is Marin. She's been educating me. Marin, these are colleagues who've learned that being late demonstrates poor priorities. Bring us your best bourbon and the chef's special. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? The question escaped before she could stop it. I haven't decided, but the evening has become more interesting than anticipated. He finally released her from his attention. That will be all. For now. The dismissal was clear. The "for now" hung like a promise or threat. In the kitchen, Marin allowed 30 seconds, hands on stainless steel, breathing regulated. The technique was familiar. Acknowledge adrenaline, don't fight it, and redirect it. You good? Chef Marcus glanced over. 50s, broad, someone who noticed things. Fine. Need you to tell me why Torrin's been watching you for 3 weeks. That man's interest ain't healthy. Maybe he appreciates competent service. And maybe I'm opening a food truck on Mars. Be careful. Men like that collect people. When she returned with bourbon, the 3 men stopped talking immediately. The silence felt calculated. They wanted her to know they'd been discussing things she wasn't meant to hear. One more thing, Voss said. There's a boxing match tomorrow night. Local event, amateur circuit. Are you familiar? Ice water flooded her veins. How did he know? I don't follow boxing. Surprising. You move like someone who understands combat sports. The footwork, spatial awareness, how you handled that situation. I'd put money on significant training. His associates watched with new interest. I took self-defense classes in college, required course. I appreciate mystery. Gives me something to look forward to unraveling. He leaned back. How late does Belafonte stay open? Kitchen closes at 11. Perfect. Then I have time to catch that boxing event. You should come. I could arrange a ticket. You might find it educational. The challenge was unmistakable, testing how far she'd go to maintain her fiction. I have other commitments. Not yet, Voss said softly, but the evening is young. Marin's shift ended late. Walking to her car through the rear lot, she noticed them. 3 men emerging from shadows spreading to cut off retreat angles. Little late for a lady alone, the center one said. Marin stopped walking. Her grip on keys relaxed to neutral. Her bag slid to hang from one hand. I'm plenty careful. Your bag, phone too. Make this easy. Marin sighed. Here's what's happening. You're going to reconsider while you still have working knees. They laughed. You got spirit? Marin moved. She covered the distance before his brain processed, her bag catching him across the temple with solid weight. He stumbled. She pivoted, elbow driving into center guy's solar plexus. He folded. Right side man saw how fast his friends went down and started backing away. Marin closed distance, feinted high, kicked low. His knee buckled. 10 seconds total. Like I said, reconsider your choices. She walked to her car without looking back. The knock came at 7 a.m. Voss stood outside holding coffee. 2 cups from the expensive cafe. It's 7 in the morning. I'm aware, I brought coffee, and information you'll want to hear. How did you know where I live? I know a lot of things. For instance, I know 3 men tried to rob you last night. I know you put all 3 down in under 15 seconds. And I know, he paused, that your real name is Marin Solis. You're 29, and for 5 years you competed as Silent Storm. The nickname hit like a physical blow. 23 matches, 23 wins, 16 knockouts. Regional champion twice. Then you disappeared. Walked away at peak career 4 years ago. Changed cities. Became a waitress who wants to be invisible. Why? The question hung unspoken. Marin took the coffee. You want this conversation on my doorstep? Or inside? She stepped back. Voss entered her minimal apartment. No photos. No personal details. Temporary despite 4 years. His eyes landed on the speed bag in the corner. That's your evidence? Lots of people have home gym equipment. Most people don't move like you do. Don't handle 3 attackers like choreography. And don't look at me like you're calculating whether you could take me if it came to that. I calculate risk professionally. Service work teaches you which customers become problems. And which category do I fall into? Still, deciding. She sipped coffee. Perfect temperature, perfect sweetness. He'd somehow known. You came here with my coffee memorized and my boxing history researched. That suggests you want something. Several things, but let's start with the most immediate. Stop pretending you're something you're not. I'm not pretending. I'm living my life. Quietly. That's choice. It's waste. You have real skill. And you're using it to carry plates for people who don't notice you exist. Maybe that's exactly what I want. I don't believe that. I think you stopped because something scared you. But that hunger doesn't die. It just eats you alive slowly. The accuracy hit hard. He was right. The hunger lived in the speed bag she hit at 3 a.m., in streaming boxing matches watched with volume low, in the relief she'd felt when those idiots gave her excuse to fight. Why do you care? Voss looked at her for a long moment. Because watching someone waste their gifts reminds me of people who never had the choice. Because I've spent my life with mediocre men pretending they're dangerous, and meeting someone who actually is dangerous without advertising it is refreshing. And because I'm arrogant enough to believe if I can't have you working for me, I at least want to see what you're capable of when you stop hiding. Unexpected honesty? Manipulative? Possibly. But genuine frustration suggested this was more than tactics. You want me to work for you? Eventually. Right now, I want you at that match tonight. There's a prize fight. 20,000 to the winner. He paused. The defending champion is Riggs, the Hammer. 6'3", 220, undefeated in 18 matches. Arrogant, abusive to sparring partners, makes the sport look bad. 20,000 was 6 months' rent, but prize fights put you back on the map she'd spent years erasing. Not interested? Not even curious? Weight classes exist because most fighters depend on size. But you were Silent Storm for a reason. Speed, precision, intelligence. He'd identified her weak points perfectly. Money she needed, competitive hunger suppressed, moral justification, and the truth that part of her missed this with chest-aching intensity. Why? What do you actually get? Voss moved to her window. I get to see if my instincts are right. I get to watch something beautiful, real skill, meeting real challenge, and I get the pleasure of knowing I helped unlock something being wasted. Was she tempted? Her accelerated heartbeat, unconsciously formed fists, familiar adrenaline rush answered clearly. One night, one match, $20,000. What could go wrong? Marin didn't answer immediately. Through her kitchen window, a young mother loaded a toddler into a car seat. Ordinary life where people probably didn't wake with hands already formed into fists. You want to know why I left? Marin said quietly. Only if you want to tell me. She turned to face him. His name was Devin Kress, my sparring partner, For 2 years. Good fighter, disciplined. We dated 8 months. I thought I knew him. Voss's stillness suggested focused attention without interruption. I was training for nationals. Pushing hard. Devin got into his own head about my success. Started making comments about how I was too aggressive, embarrassing him by being better. I should have seen the signs. The apartment felt smaller. She hadn't told this story in 4 years. After practice one night, he tried to teach me a lesson about respect. Thought because he outweighed me by 40 pounds and had reach advantage, he could put me in my place. I'm guessing he thought wrong. I put him in the hospital. Broken jaw, fractured orbital, 3 cracked ribs. He swung first, but I didn't stop when I should have. And the worst part, her voice cracked before she controlled it, was how good it felt. How satisfying. The confession hung heavy between them. The gym owner covered it up. Devin was too humiliated to press charges, but I knew what I was capable of when the fighter in me stopped being sport and became something else. So I left, scared of myself, scared of what I might do if I stayed where violence was acceptable. Voss absorbed this without judgment. He attacked you. You defended yourself. Those 3 guys last night? I could have run. Instead, I took them apart because it felt good to have an excuse. And you think that makes you dangerous? It makes me someone who shouldn't step back into a ring where hurting people is the objective. Voss moved closer. Or it makes you someone with a gift she's punishing herself for instead of learning to control. You think the fighter is a monster. I think it's a tool. Tools aren't good or evil, just effective or ineffective. Easy philosophy when you're not the one who might lose control. Is it? Something dark flickered. You think I don't know what it's like to have violence that feels good to release? The difference between us is I've made peace with what I am. You're still running. The words carried sharp truth. She was running. Had been for 4 years. The exhaustion was starting to outweigh the fear. One fight, Voss said. One night. Test yourself against real challenge. Prove you can control it. And if you're wrong, if I lose control, then I'll stop you. I'll be there. You won't be alone with it this time. Could she believe him? She searched his face for deception, finding something that looked like understanding. Why does this matter so much? Voss was quiet, then spoke with raw honesty. Because 15 years ago, someone told me the violence in me made me broken, that I needed to suppress it. So I tried to be something else. And the people I cared about died because I wasn't strong enough to protect them when it mattered. Because I'd spent so much energy trying to be gentle that I'd forgotten how to be effective. The confession landed like physical presence. After that, I stopped apologizing for what I was, built an empire on controlled violence and calculated intimidation. Never regretted it. He stepped back. So when I see someone suppressing what could be their greatest strength, treating it like a curse, yeah, it matters. Because maybe if one person stops making my mistake, that old choice becomes less wasteful. Something shifted in her perception of him. He wasn't just arrogant, he was convicted from scars that matched her own. One fight. She tested the words. 20,000. You guarantee it's legitimate. Legitimate. Regulated, refereed, medical staff. Amateur circuit with professional standards. You can walk away if something feels wrong. And afterward? If that's what you want after, then yes. But I don't think it will be. I think once you remember who you are, going back to pretending will feel like suffocating. He was probably right. That scared her most. Not the fight, but what came after. Would she be able to put that part back in its box? I need to think. Voss pulled out a business card. My personal number. Call by noon if you're in. Matches at 8. I'll handle everything. You just show up ready. He moved to the door, paused. For what it's worth, Marin, I don't think you're broken. I think you're sharp. And sharp things are only dangerous if you don't know how to hold them properly. Then he was gone, leaving the weight of a choice that felt simultaneously terrifying and inevitable. 4 hours later, after cleaning her already clean apartment, running until her lungs burned and staring at the business card, Marin called Chef Marcus. I need tonight off. Your scheduled Saturday dinner, our busiest night. You never call out. I know. It's important. A pause. This about Torren? Yes and no. He offered me an opportunity. I'm deciding if I'm brave enough or stupid enough to take it. Those two things ain't always different. This legal? Technically, yes. Morally complicated. Personally terrifying. So a normal Saturday in Crescent Bay. She heard his smile fade. You've been hiding something as long as I've known you. Everyone's got a right to privacy. But whatever this is, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. What if I'm doing it because I need to know if I'm still afraid of myself? Long pause. Then maybe it's worth doing. Fear you don't face just grows in the dark. You got tonight off. Go face whatever needs facing. Promise me you'll come back in one piece. I promise to try. She hung up and dialed Voss before she could reconsider. He answered immediately. I was wondering if you'd call. I have conditions. First, no publicity. My face doesn't appear anywhere, no photos, and different name. This is one night, not a comeback. Easily arranged. Second, you stay out of my preparation. I need space to get my head right. Acceptable. Third, if I say stop, if I signal I need out because I'm losing control, not because I'm losing, you end it immediately. Longer pause. Promise. If you need out, I'll make it happen. Then I'm in. What do I need to do? Meet me at Harborside Gym at 6. I'll have gear waiting. Matches at 8. You'll want time to warm up. Wait. My match isn't against Riggs? Did I say it was? I said Riggs was fighting. You're matched against Kira Dent. Good technical boxer, 17-2. Challenging, but fair. Relief and disappointment Ward. You manipulated me. I motivated you. By letting you think the fight was extreme, I got you to confront your actual fear. Whether you could step in the ring at all without losing yourself. The rest was theater. You're arrogant. Demonstrably. See you at 6. Silent storm. Marin spent the afternoon in controlled focus. Careful meal. Laid out clothes. At 4 o'clock, she stood before her bathroom mirror with scissors. Her hair had grown long over 4 years. Professional, feminine, safe. She gathered it, felt the weight, and cut. The hair fell away, leaving shoulder length that would be easier to manage in the ring. Small thing, probably unnecessary, but significant. Like shedding disguise she'd worn so long she'd forgotten it was costume. The woman in the mirror was different. Sharper angles, harder eyes. This was Silent Storm looking back. Hello, Marin said quietly. Let's see if you remember how this works. Harborside Gym hit her with smell. Sweat, leather, liniment, chalk. The specific alchemy of places where people pushed past comfortable limits. It smelled like coming home. Voss waited near the ring, dressed casually but expensive. He looked up as she approached, recognition shifting his expression. You cut your hair. I cut away the pretense. Where do I change? You look different, more like yourself. I look like someone about to make either a really good or catastrophically bad decision. Time will tell. The locker room was empty. Marin changed quickly, body moving through familiar preparation, tape for wrists, careful wrapping protecting bones without restricting movement. Thousands of times until ritual became automatic, reaching back through 4 years of dormancy. When she emerged, Voss had someone with him, Carmen, weathered face suggesting time on both sides of ring ropes. Mystery fighter M. Solace, Carmen said, evaluating. Voss says you've got experience but been out 4 years. Correct. Weight class? 140. Your opponent is Kira Dent, 135, 17-2. Good technical skills. This isn't easy for a comeback. I didn't come for easy. Respect flickered across Carmen's face. Standard 3 rounds, 2 minutes each. Judges score on clean hits, ring control, defense. Ref can call it. Medical teams on site. 20 grand winner, 5 loser. You good? Marin nodded. Stay hydrated, stay warm, and don't get in your head. Carmen glanced at Voss. Your sponsor thinks you're special. Don't make him look stupid. Voss led Marin to training area with speed and heavy bags. Warm up. Get your timing back. She positioned herself, started working speed bag. At first, her timing was off, hands chasing rather than anticipating, but gradually it returned. The rhythm became automatic. Breathing synced with motion. Something in her chest that had been clenched for 4 years loosened. After 20-minute speed bag, she moved to heavy bag. Jab, cross, hook, uppercut. Fundamental building blocks translated to fluid sequences. Her body remembered what her mind tried to forget. She lost herself in rhythm, in pure satisfaction of controlled violence. This was what she'd been missing. Not fighting itself, but clarity from absolute focus, being completely present without constant mental chatter. That's enough, Voss said after 45 minutes. You'll burn out. Marin stopped, breathing hard but controlled. She felt alive in ways she hadn't in years. Riggs just arrived. Voss nodded toward entrance. Want to watch him warm up? Was that a challenge? She studied his expression, seeing calculation beneath casual interest. Let's watch. I want to see what arrogance looks like in a ring. Riggs dominated space, not just through 6'3", 220 size, but through aggressive entitlement that assumed the world existed for his convenience. Marin watched him bark orders, saw his corner team flinch, and noticed how he shoved past a younger fighter without acknowledgement. He's undefeated because he's good, Voss said quietly, but also because he's smart about matchmaking. Takes fights against opponents with exploitable weaknesses. Never faced anyone who could truly threaten him. Everyone has weaknesses. Marin watched his warm-up, solid technique but gaps visible. He dropped his right hand after jabs. Minimal head movement, relying on reach. Questionable conditioning, bulk that would gas under sustained pressure. You're analyzing him. Habit. He's never had to develop defense because offense was always enough. Someone with speed and cardio could dismantle him. Someone like you. You're not giving up on this idea, are you? I'm observing that opportunities present themselves to people ready for them. A commotion erupted. Young fighter got too close to Riggs's space. Riggs grabbed his shoulder, shoved hard enough to send him stumbling. Watch where you're going. You don't get to breathe my air. The kid stammered apologies, backing away with humiliation that would calcify into either anger or broken confidence. Riggs's team laughed. Marin felt something cold settle in her chest. This was the kind of fighter who gave the sport a bad name, confused violence with strength, needed to diminish others to feel elevated. Easy? Voss said. Don't let him get in your head before you've even fought tonight. I'm not in my head. I'm exactly where I need to be. Clear, focused, very aware of exactly what kind of person is in that ring. Voss studied her profile. Before you go further, there's something I should tell you. About why I really brought you here? She turned to face him, reading seriousness in his posture. 15 years ago, I was in a relationship. Lucia, a dancer, ballet, contemporary, made movement look like poetry. Beautiful, talented, involved with exactly the wrong man. His jaw tightened. Me. I thought I could keep her separate from my world. My competitors decided the best way to hurt me was through her. They took her, hurt her, sent photographs. By the time I found her, his voice went flat. She was alive, but everything that made her Lucia was broken. She never danced again. Died 2 years later from an overdose I'm sure wasn't accidental. The revelation landed heavily. After that, I stopped apologizing for what I was. Rebuilt myself as someone capable of protecting what mattered, even if that meant becoming what people feared. Never regretted it. Why tell me now? Because when I watch Riggs, I see the kind of man who hurt Lucia, who hurts people because he can. And when I watch you, I see someone with enough skill to make him understand that strength doesn't equal invincibility. You want me to fight him not just for me, for her. I want you to fight him because bullies don't stop until someone makes them, and because watching you do it would prove that the violence I've built my life around can serve something beyond profit, that it can be justice. Manipulation, but honest manipulation, transparent in intent. The match tonight, Kira Dent. That's legitimate? Completely. Win or lose, you walk away with money and knowledge you can control yourself. No strings. But if you win, and if Riggs is here after his match, and if you wanted to challenge him, I can make that happen. Your choice. Her choice. That was key. Voss created circumstances, removed obstacles, eliminated excuses. But the decision remained hers. What happens now? Marin asked. That depends on what you want. I can step back, maintain distance, or we acknowledge that something exists beyond debt that two people who understand survival might benefit from knowing each other exists. She thought about Elsie choosing Voss, about whether there was room for someone whose protection came wrapped in shadows. I think I'd like to know the person who's helping me. Not because I owe you, but because maybe there's something worth trusting. Voss's expression relaxed into genuine pleasure. Then we'll take it slowly. No expectations, just two people finding comfort in mutual recognition. Carmen appeared. Solace, you're up in 30 minutes. Get taped and ready. The moment had arrived. All the preparation, debate, fear, and hunger condensed to one reality. In 30 minutes, she'd discover whether Silent Storm still existed, or whether 4 years had killed her through suffocation. Marin looked at Voss. If I do this, if I win and challenge Riggs, promise you'll stop me if I go too far. Not just if I signal, but if you see me crossing the line into something that's not sport. I promise, you won't lose yourself in there, not on my watch. She nodded, accepting the vow. She turned and walked toward the locker room, feeling 4 years of self-imposed exile lifting with each step. Behind her, she heard Voss make a phone call. She's fighting tonight. Make sure Riggs stays after his match. I think we're about to have a very interesting evening. The words should have bothered her. The manipulation, the orchestration. But instead, Marin felt something close to gratitude. For 4 years, she'd controlled every variable, keeping everything small and safe. It had been exhausting. Maybe it was time to let someone else calculate while she did what she'd been born to do: fight. The ring felt smaller and larger simultaneously, familiarity warring with 4 years of distance. Canvas had the same slight give, ropes the same tension, but everything felt hyper-real. Senses turned past comfortable levels. Carmen stood center ring, microphone in hand. Our next match is lightweight division. Introducing first, 17 wins and 2 losses from Crescent Bay, Kira Dent. Kira entered, lean and coiled, dark skin gleaming under lights, cornrows pulled tight. She moved with confidence earned through consistency. When her eyes met Moran's, there was no hostility, just professional assessment, fighter to fighter. And her opponent, returning after 4-year absence, Monsieur Salas, deliberately vague, no hometown, no record. Marin appreciated anonymity even as she felt exposed under lights, maybe 200 in the crowd. She scanned faces, noting Voss in the front row, attention absolute. This was it. No more preparation, doubt, running. Just her, Kira, and 3 rounds to prove Silent Storm hadn't died, just been sleeping. The referee called them to center for final instructions. Up close, Kira was slightly shorter but broader through shoulders, built for power where Marin was built for speed. Touch gloves, return to corners. Marin's glove met Kira's in traditional respect. Then they moved apart. Last seconds of peace before violence became expected. Back in her corner, Marin bounced on her toes, loosening shoulders, hands flowing through shadow combinations. Breathing controlled, pulse elevated but not panicked. The moment before, where anything was possible, where the fight existed only as potential. The bell rang. Marin moved to center with guard high, orthodox stance, weight balanced. Kira circled left, cautious, measuring distance. First 30 seconds were reconnaissance, tentative jabs testing range, neither committing, both gathering information. Then Kira threw a combination, jab, right cross, crisp and technical. Marin slipped the first, parried the second. The cross missed by inches. Years of training reasserted themselves. She countered with her own jab, snapping quickly to establish range. It landed clean on Kira's guard, and Marin felt satisfying shock travel up her arm. God, she'd missed this. Pure, physical dialogue where questions were asked with fists and answered with movement. They settled into rhythm, trading combinations, each testing the other's defense. Kira had solid fundamentals, tight guard, economical footwork, technically sound punches, but Marin noticed patterns. Kira liked throwing her right after double jabs, tended to circle left after exchanges. Head movement, while adequate, was predictable. 90 seconds in, Marin tested a theory. She threw a jab deliberately slower than necessary, then another. Kira's timing adjusted. Instead of a third, Marin exploded forward with a left hook from unexpected angle, slipping past guard to catch her temple. The crowd reacted. Surprise flickered across Kira's face. Kira responded by tightening defense and becoming more aggressive, pressing forward with combinations designed to push Marin to ropes. Smart strategy. Use size and strength to control center. But Marin had fought bigger opponents her entire career. She used angles and footwork to stay off ropes, pivoting out before Kira could trap her, countering with quick combinations that scored without getting drawn into a brawl she'd lose. Round 1 bell sounded. Marin returned to her corner, breathing controlled, barely winded. "You're faster," Carmen observed quietly. "But she's got power. Don't let her land clean." Marin nodded. Across the ring, Kira was getting animated instructions. Round 2 would be different. Kira had felt Marin's speed and would adjust. The question was whether 4 years would show in stamina or timing when fatigue accumulated. The bell rang again. Kira came out more aggressive, cutting off the ring better, throwing power shots. A right hand caught Marin's shoulder as she slipped slightly too slow. Not clean, but enough to feel impact. Remember, this was real. Marin shifted tactics. Instead of staying at range, she moved inside where Kira's longer arms were less effective. She worked body with short hooks and uppercuts, targeting ribs and solar plexus, shots that accumulated damage and drained stamina. Back at range, Marin caught Kira coming in with perfect counter, straight right that landed flush on chin, snapping her head back. Crowd noise spiked. Kira's legs wobbled microseconds before she recovered, but Marin had seen it. She pressed forward, throwing combinations with bad intentions. But Kira was tough. She weathered the storm, covering up and circling away, buying time for her head to clear. When Marin pursued too eagerly, Kira caught her with a check hook that reminded her hurt fighters were still dangerous. The round ended with both breathing harder, both marked with red evidence of clean shots. This was a real fight now, competitive and uncertain. In the corner between rounds, Marin's body sang with exertion and adrenaline. Sweat stung her eyes, knuckles ached, ribs tender where Kira had landed body shots. And she felt more alive than she had in 4 years. Last round, Carmen said, wiping her face. It's close on points. You need to win this round to take the decision. Stay smart, stay technical. Marin nodded, already visualizing what needed to happen. 1 more round, 3 more minutes. Then she'd know whether Silent Storm was real or romanticized memory. The final round bell rang. Both fighters came out knowing this would decide it. Kira pressed forward aggressively, trying to overwhelm with volume and power. But Marin had found her rhythm now. That perfect state where body and mind synchronized completely. She wasn't thinking, just reacting, training and instincts merging into fluid motion. She made Kira miss, then countered. Slipped outside a right hand and landed left hook to body. Ducked under a combination and came up with uppercut that caught Kira clean. Each exchange built on the previous one, Marin's confidence growing as she proved the fighter hadn't left, had just been waiting for permission. With 30 seconds left, Kira threw caution aside and charged forward with desperate combination, swinging for knockout power. Marin saw it coming, timed her counter perfectly, landed a 3-punch combination, jab, right hand, left hook, that snapped Kira's head back with each impact. The ref stepped in, checking if Kira could continue. She nodded, but the fight was over in everything but formality. The bell rang seconds later. Both fighters embraced in center ring, mutual respect for the battle they'd shared. Kira's mouthguard came out. "You're good, really good. Where have you been?" "Away," Marin answered. "But I'm back now." The announcer stepped into the ring. "Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we have a unanimous decision. The winner, M. Solace." Applause filled the gym. Marin felt hands raising her arms, felt the rush of winning flooding her system. But more than victory, she felt profound relief of discovering she could still do this, could still fight at high level, could still control the violence instead of being controlled by it. She'd proven something tonight. Not to Voss, not to the crowd, but to herself. The fighter and the person weren't separate entities warring for dominance. They were the same thing, and she was strong enough to decide when and how that strength got used. When she climbed out of the ring, Voss was waiting with towel and water, his expression carrying vindication mixed with genuine pleasure. 23-0, you haven't lost a step. I lost 4 years, but yeah, it felt good. Felt right. So what now? Voss's question carried weight beyond surface simplicity. They both knew Riggs was fighting in 45 minutes. They both knew what Voss wanted her to do next. Marin looked past him to where Riggs was warming up, saw arrogant certainty in his movements, casual cruelty in how he treated everyone. Then she looked back at Voss, at the hope and hunger in his eyes. Not for violence itself, but for justice wearing violence's face. The decision was hers. It always had been. Voss had just removed obstacles and eliminated excuses. But whether to step through the door he'd opened, that was her choice alone. "Let me watch his fight first," Marin said finally. Then we'll see if arrogance looks different when it's actually tested. Riggs's fight lasted less than 2 rounds, ending when he landed a devastating right hand that sent his opponent to canvas, half conscious and unable to continue. But what happened after the knockout crystallized Marin's decision. As the referee waved off the fight and medical staff rushed in, Riggs didn't return to his corner. Instead, he stood over his unconscious opponent, flexing and shouting at the crowd, soaking in attention like he'd accomplished something remarkable. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Marin watched his opponent being helped from the ring, saw the glazed look suggesting concussion protocol, and felt her jaw tighten. "That could be you," Voss said quietly. "He's got 70 pounds on you, 6 inches of reach, knockout power in both hands. This isn't technical boxing. This is dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. The question is whether the danger serves a purpose or just feeds an ego." Marin made her decision. "How do I challenge him?" Something flickered across Voss's expression. "You sure? I can still arrange a different match." "I'm sure. That man thinks his strength makes him untouchable. Someone needs to teach him it doesn't. Might as well be me." Voss studied her face, searching for hesitation or bravado. Finding neither, he nodded. "Then we do this right. I'll talk to Carmen. Set it up for next weekend. Tonight. I challenge him tonight. Right now. While I'm still warm and he's still arrogant enough to accept without thinking." Marin. But she was already moving toward the ring, toward the microphone Carmen was handing back. The gym had started to clear. Marin climbed through the ropes and walked to center, her presence drawing confused attention. Carmen approached with a frown. "What are you doing?" "Not quite finished." Marin took the microphone. "Can I borrow this?" Without waiting, she raised it and her voice cut through diminishing crowd noise. "Riggs. The Hammer. The undefeated champion who just knocked out an opponent who was barely conscious before the first punch landed." The gym went quiet. People stopped moving. Riggs, halfway to the locker room, turned with disbelief transitioning to anger. Marin continued. "I'm Monsieur Solas. I just won my return fight after 4 years. My record is 23-0, and I'm formally challenging you to a match. Tonight. Right now. Unless you're only comfortable fighting people who can't fight back." The provocation landed exactly as intended. Riggs's face flushed, jaw clenching. His entourage looked uncertain. "You're out of your mind," Riggs said, loud enough to carry. "I outweigh you by 70 pounds. You'd last 30 seconds. Then it should be an easy paycheck. Unless you're scared 30 seconds might be optimistic. For you." The remaining crowd was fully engaged, sensing drama. Phones came out, people recording, the moment taking on life beyond the physical space. Riggs looked at his team, at the crowd, at Marin standing center ring with absolute confidence. His pride wouldn't let him back down, not publicly, not with cameras recording. "You want to get hurt that badly? Fine. But when I put you down, don't expect sympathy. You asked for this." Carmen grabbed Marin's arm. "This is insane. We can't sanction this. The weight difference violates every safety protocol." "Then make it an exhibition, unofficial. I'll sign whatever waiver absolves the gym." Voss had appeared ringside, expression carefully neutral. "Marin. Last chance. You don't have to do this." "I know. But I want to. Not because you want me to. Because I need to prove that 4 years ago, I walked away from something I thought was a curse. And I need to know if it's actually a gift I've been wasting." Their eyes held, understanding passing. Then Voss nodded and turned to Carmen. "Make it happen. Exhibition match. All waivers signed. Medical team on standby. 3 rounds. Standard time." 20 minutes later, after paperwork and rules were established, Marin stood in her corner with fresh gloves. Across the ring, Riggs looked even larger, a genuine heavyweight facing a lightweight with no business sharing the same ring. The crowd had swelled as word spread. What had been a clearing gym was packed again, drawn by spectacle of mismatch, by viral videos already circulating. Voss stood below Marin's corner. You know his reach advantage means he can hit you from distances where you can't hit him. You know his power means one clean shot could end this badly. I know, Marin interrupted gently. But you know what I know that he doesn't? What? That size and power don't mean anything if you can't land, and arrogance makes you slow. She smiled slightly. Trust me. I've got this. The referee called them to center. Up close, Riggs was even more imposing. Gloves like small boulders, shoulders thick with muscle, eyes carrying absolute certainty of someone never truly tested. This is exhibition rules, the ref explained. 3 rounds, 2 minutes each. I can stop at any time if I think someone's in danger. Protect yourselves. Touch gloves. Riggs extended his gloves, but when Marin reached, he pulled back and grinned. Just kidding. You don't deserve respect, princess. You deserve a lesson. The disrespect was calculated, designed to rattle her, make her emotional. Marin felt familiar ice settle in her chest, cold clarity that came before every fight where she was the underdog. She smiled back, expression not reaching her eyes. I've taught lessons to better students. Let's see if you can learn. Back in her corner, waiting for the bell, Marin felt everything else fall away. Crowd noise faded to white static. Bright lights became ambient glow. Awareness narrowed to just her body, the ring, and the target who thought he was predator, but was about to discover he was prey. The bell rang. Riggs came forward immediately, aggressive and confident, throwing a jab that Marin slipped easily. He followed with a right hand loaded with knockout power, but it was slow, telegraph slow, the kind of punch that sacrificed speed because he'd never needed speed. Marin wasn't there when it arrived. She'd already moved left, circling out, and footwork light and economical. She flicked her own jab, catching him on the nose. Not to hurt, just to register, to announce she could hit him whenever she wanted. Riggs pressed forward, trying to use size to crowd her against ropes. But Marin understood ring generalship better than opponents who relied on physical advantages. She used angles to create space, pivoted out before he could trap her, and every time he committed to power punches, she made him miss by margins that looked effortless, but were products of thousands of hours of defensive drilling. 40 seconds in, Marin saw first flicker of uncertainty in Riggs's eyes. He'd expected to overwhelm her quickly. Instead, he was swinging at air while accumulating light jabs that stung his pride more than his face. He changed tactics, becoming more calculated, trying to cut off the ring. Smarter strategy, but Marin had anticipated it. When he tried to corner her, she exploded forward with a combination that landed clean before she was out and away. Jab, right hand to body, left hook to head, all in 2 seconds. The crowd reacted. Riggs's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He was being made to look foolish in front of people who'd only ever seen him dominate. Against someone with her speed and precision, every gap in his defense became visible. The round continued, with Marin staying just outside his power range, hitting and moving, accumulating points, while avoiding the one big shot that could end everything. By the bell, Riggs was breathing harder than activity warranted, frustration and wasted energy from missing taking their toll. In her corner, Marin took water from Voss. He's getting angry. Angry fighters make mistakes. Angry fighters also stop caring about defense and start swinging for fences. Voss cautioned. One shot is all it takes. One shot is all I need too, just need to find the opening. Round 2 began with Riggs abandoning technical boxing. He came forward like a freight train, throwing power combinations designed to hurt rather than score. His corner had told him to take risks, force the issue, and end this before embarrassment became humiliation. Marin adjusted, staying even more defensive, letting him burn energy while she conserved hers. When he threw wild hooks, she ducked under. When he loaded up on right hands, she slipped outside. And whenever he overextended, she made him pay with quick counters that accumulated damage incrementally. 90 seconds in, Riggs caught her with a glancing blow. Just his glove scraping her temple as she slipped, but enough to remember mistakes had consequences. The crowd gasped. But Marin had been hit before, knew the difference between damage and discomfort. She circled out, reset, immediately went back to work. The near miss had actually helped. It made Riggs overconfident, made him think he could land the finish blow. He pursued recklessly, and reckless fighters created opportunities. With 20 seconds left in the round, Riggs threw a massive right hand with everything behind it, a punch designed to end fights. Marin had seen it coming from the way his weight shifted, shoulder dipped. She leaned back just enough for the punch to sail past her face, then stepped forward into the opening he'd created. Her counter combination was perfect. Right hand to the liver, the kind of body shot that shut down nervous systems, followed immediately by left hook to the head that landed clean on the button. Riggs's eyes went wide, his legs wobbled, and for a heartbeat the mighty hammer looked utterly mortal. The bell saved him. Literally saved him, ringing as his legs were giving out, giving him the minute break he desperately needed. His corner team swarmed him, slapping his face, shouting instructions, trying to clear cobwebs. Across the ring, Marin felt something shift. The fear that had haunted her for 4 years, that she couldn't control the violence that it would consume her. It wasn't present. Instead, she felt calm, focused, completely in control of herself and the situation. She'd hurt Riggs, yes, but with precision and purpose, not rage or loss of control. This was what she'd been afraid of? This clarity? This perfect alignment of skill and will? She'd wasted 4 years hiding from something that was actually beautiful. The pure physical poetry of 2 trained fighters testing each other at the highest level, violence elevated into art through discipline and technique. Voss looked up at her, and in his eyes she saw recognition. He'd known. He'd known that once she stepped back into the ring, once she remembered what controlled power felt like, the fear would lose its hold. Last round. How do you want to finish this? Marin looked across at Riggs, who was shaking his head, trying to regain focus. She saw him for what he was, not a monster, just a man who'd confused dominance with strength, who'd built a reputation on fighting people who couldn't really fight back, who was discovering that when faced with genuine skill, all his advantages meant nothing. I want to teach him what strength actually looks like. And then I want to go home and sleep better than I have in 4 years. The final bell rang. Riggs came out for the 3rd round with desperation replacing arrogance. His corner had patched him together enough to fight, but Marin could see doubt in his movements, slight hesitation before committing, defensive responsibility he'd never needed suddenly becoming critical. She didn't rush, didn't press for dramatic finish. Instead, she worked him systematically, like a master craftsman taking apart a structure piece by piece, body shots to drain stamina, head shots to accumulate damage, feints to make him waste energy reacting to threats that didn't materialize. Riggs tried to mount comebacks, throwing occasional power combinations that made the crowd gasp, but Marin had solved him completely. She knew when he was going to throw before he did. could read his intentions in micro adjustments of posture, weight distribution, breathing pattern. 45 seconds into the final round, she decided to end it. Riggs threw another big right hand, putting everything into it. Marin slipped outside, simultaneously stepping in close where his long arms were less effective. Her counter was a perfect straight right hand down the middle, landing with every ounce of technique and timing she possessed. The punch snapped Riggs's head back, his mouthguard flying out in spray of sweat and saliva. His legs went liquid beneath him, and he collapsed to the canvas in sections. Knees first, then hands, then finally rolling to his back as consciousness fled. The referee waved his arms immediately. The fight was over. Riggs lay on his back, staring at ring lights with unfocused eyes, his invincibility shattered as completely as his consciousness. Medical staff rushed in. The crowd erupted, some cheering the upset, some shocked into silence. Marin stood in neutral corner, not celebrating, just breathing, feeling adrenaline starting to fade and exhaustion creeping in. When the doctor signaled Riggs was okay, hurt but not seriously damaged, the referee raised Marin's hand. The gesture felt simultaneously significant and unnecessary. She'd won, yes, but more importantly, she'd proven what she needed to prove. She could control the violence, could use it purposefully without losing herself, could be dangerous without being broken. Voss was in the ring before she could process everything, his arms wrapping around her in embrace that was part celebration, part relief, part something else entirely. You did it. Not just one. You became what you were always supposed to be. Marin pulled back to look at him. I didn't do it for you. I know. His smile was real, reaching his eyes. You did it for yourself. Which is exactly why it matters. 6 months later, Marin stood in an empty warehouse space in Crescent Bay's revitalized waterfront district. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating dust motes and potential. The space was raw, exposed brick, concrete floors, high ceilings, but she could see what it would become. Heavy bags hanging in rows, speed bags on walls, a regulation ring in center, weight equipment, changing rooms, office space, and most importantly, room for people to transform, to learn, to become stronger versions of themselves. Voss stood beside her, hands in pockets, surveying the space. Contractor says 4 months to complete. Renovations, equipment orders placed, insurance finalized, business license clearing next week. Fast, Marin observed. I'm motivated, and you're apparently very persuasive. The way you pitched this to sponsors, I've seen hostile business negotiations with less intensity. I've learned from the best. She smiled slightly, present company included. They'd spent the past months in constant contact, business meetings that turned into dinners, planning sessions that evolved into late-night conversations, professional partnership that had gradually, inevitably, become something more complicated. What are you going to call it? Marin had been thinking about this since the night she'd knocked out Riggs. The quiet storm. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. Voss smiled. Perfect. And appropriately paradoxical, which seems fitting for you. For us, Marin corrected. She turned to face him fully. This partnership, the gym, the business, whatever else this is becoming, it only works if we're equals. I'm not someone who needs saving, and you're not someone who needs redemption through me. We're just two people who understand violence helping others understand it too. Agreed. Though for the record, I think we've both been saving each other. You reminded me that power can build instead of just control. I reminded you that strength doesn't have to be a curse. Fair assessment. She held out her hand formally. Partners? Instead of shaking, Voss pulled her close and kissed her. a gesture that was part celebration, part relief, and part acknowledgement that whatever was building between them had moved past professional courtesy into genuine connection. When they broke apart, Marin laughed. That's not how business partnerships usually get sealed. We're not a usual partnership. We're two broken people who found ways to be whole by accepting what we are instead of running from it. Broken? I prefer strategically reassembled into something more interesting. That too. They stood together in the empty warehouse, sunlight painting everything golden, the future taking shape between vision and reality. In 4 months, this room would be full of people learning to be strong, to be safe, and to channel their fear and anger into technique and discipline. And Marin would be teaching them, passing forward the lessons she'd learned. That violence controlled was power, that strength acknowledged was freedom, and that the monsters people feared were often just parts of themselves they didn't understand yet. Thank you for following this journey with Marin and Voss. If this story moved you or inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful narratives. Drop a comment telling me what part of Marin's journey resonated most with you. And remember, the monsters we fear are often just the parts of ourselves we haven't learned to understand yet. Until next time, stay strong, stay authentic, and never apologize for who you are.